Hey, hello and welcome to a presentation entitled Library Renovation Updates. Um, my name is Amy Harris Hauk. I am the Assistant Dean for Teaching and Learning here in the university libraries, and I'm just going to give you some information. I wasn't really sure, without knowing exactly who was going to come today, what you already know and what you would like to know. So again, please feel free to ask questions. I can provide more detail about anything as we go along if you're interested. And these slides will be available at go.uncg.edu/reno_updates_NOV. I tried to do it all as one word and it looked really weird, so you get the underscores. All right, so just to be very, kind of go back to the very beginning, the main building, the brick building in the library, we call it Main, was built in 1950. This picture here on the right is my favorite picture of Jackson Library because it's snowing. The tower was added in 1973, and when it was built as they called it the Tower of Books. And there's a link if you haven't seen the news story that was in the UNCG magazine a couple of months ago. There's a link to it at the end. But I learned that little fact from that article, so it's very interesting. But the things to keep in mind is that because it was a tower of books, it was never really meant to house people. It was meant as book space. Since then, since 1973, there have been no infrastructure improvements. So, it's been a while. Also, another fun fact for you. In 1973, when the tower was built, there were 7,411 students at UNCG, and now there are, right around 18,000. So we have really outgrown what the library was originally meant for. We have been, thinking about renovations, preparing for renovations for a very long time. I've been on campus since 2006, and I had heard that the library was either at or near the top of the renovation list pretty much since I got here. Obviously, some other renovations have happened and new buildings since then, but it seemed like it had always been a campus priority for this renovation to happen. So finally, in 2022, the state of North Carolina awarded us $81 million for renovations. The initial request to the legislature was for $120 million. So, while $81 million is a lot of money, it wasn't quite what we were hoping for. They did add an inflationary increase of 17.1 million in 2023. So that puts us at 98.1 million. I hope that's right. Otherwise, it's embarrassing. So I just did that math in my head. I should know that number off the top of my head, but as you can tell, I don't. So I won't go through this in great detail, but just know that the design process started in 2022, in 2022, 2023, even into this year. The designers have, talked to folks all around campus. They've talked to students and faculty and staff and library people and all sorts of groups to get, information about what they're looking for in a library. They've drawn plans and we've given feedback and all those sorts of things. So as of right now, the design plans are at the Office of State Construction for approval. And so at this point, everything is still, there are plans, but at this point, we don't have a lot of, we don't know for sure what the final building is going to look like, but we know that there will be, that it'll be more ADA accessible. We know that it will have a better HVAC system. And we know that it will be more of the kind of library that is what the 21st century library patron wants to be in, unlike our current building. So I do actually want to talk about, since things are, still kind of up in the air as far as what the final library will look like. I did a presentation last week at a conference with two colleagues at different libraries who are at different stages of renovations. And they just kept reminding me that, like, no matter how many times you look at plans and all those sorts of things, the final product, there are always some things that will surprise you. So it's going to be very interesting. The things that I've definitely wanted to make sure to share with y'all as we head into the beginning of the actual renovation is that on December 13th, the library tower will close and it will not reopen until summer or fall of 2026. So what that means is that there will be approximately, thank you, Rachel, approximately 600,000 books will go off to storage. I actually think it's a little bit less than 600,000. That's why it says 600,000-ish. They will go to offsite storage. And when I say offsite storage, I mean it's in another state. So like in boxes, inaccessible for 18 months. Don't worry, we're going to talk about this in just a moment. So phase 1 of construction will be the tower closed, 18 months. They're gonna work on the tower. They're gonna renovate it, and then sometime in the summer or fall of 2026, the tower will reopen, and it will be fully renovated. At that time, the main building, the brick building, will close for renovation and be closed until sometime in 2028. So parts of the library will be open the entire time. That's the main takeaway that I hope that you take with you, is that we are not closing down. The tower will be closed, then the main building will be closed, but the library people, we will still be here to support you. That will not change. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how spaces will be impacted during phase 1. The tower being closed, that's pretty significant, right? That's a huge part of the square footage of our building. So the main building is open. We're going to relocate the service desk. If you are familiar with the library, there's kind of I call it a tunnel between the tower and the main building. Like the ceilings are a little bit lower. There's some computers, or there's like tall tables with computers. So the checkout desk is going to be relocated there. We've reconfigured a lot of the student spaces on the first floor to fit in more furniture so that there's more space for students to study. We've also added this nice new study area called the Spartan Study Spot, as you can see from the picture. We relocated the folks in the technical services department, which is where they used to be. Their offices used to be in here, and now we have this nice big new study space. Come by and check it out. It looks really nice. If you have ever been to the Hodges reading room, if you're standing in front of the Hodges reading room looking at their double glass doors, this would be on your left side. So as far as services go, we are continuing to provide all the services that you love from the libraries. Reserve requests we're doing reserves. We'll continue to do print reserves as well as e-reserves. The deadline for those is December 2nd. If you know of books in the stacks that you may want to put on reserve in future semesters, please check them out, because again, they will be stored in another state and will be inaccessible. We will still have students and staff available at the checkout desk, the reference desk, the DMC desk. They will be available to assist you. We will continue doing information literacy class sessions. Our teaching spaces in the library, if you're familiar with those, we have 2 teaching spaces in the library. Those will be gone because they are in the tower. but we will be able to reserve other teaching spaces around campus. The computer classrooms around campus will be able to reserve those, or we can meet in the classroom depending on what your needs are, and you and your librarian can negotiate what that will look like. Digital Media Commons and Special Collections and University Archives, since they are totally housed in the main building, their services will continue on as normal for phase 1. You may have any questions so far? I'm taking that as a no. Okay, so collection impacts. As I've said several times, after December 13th, the books in the library tower will no longer be accessible. I'm going to talk to you in just a moment about how to get books that you need. Some of our books will be available if they're listed in the catalog as storage. Harold Ship and Music Library, because of course they are part of us, but they are not being renovated. So books in the music library will continue to be accessible just as they always have been. We also have a new location called Jackson Library Lobby. Fun fact, it's not actually really in the lobby. If you know where the reference desk is, most of these books will be back behind the reference desk. You can see here on this slide, this is a screenshot of one of the books that is currently housed in this area that we call Jackson Library Lobby. If you haven't read it, you really should. It's a very good book. But you can check it out still, and you'll be able to check it out throughout the renovation. So if you have a lot of books on your TBR right now, you can come see us in February, March, or April and grab spare and check it out. It's very good. Okay, so you do have a lot of options for borrowing books during the renovation. We have, thank you, Rachel. It's a really good book. I actually listened to it as an audiobook. Highly recommended. Prince Harry reads it, but we have the print book. So we have a borrowing agreement with what we call the Triad Academic Library Association, and essentially those are all the 2 or 4 year schools in the Piedmont Triad. So this is a page, again, this is linked on the slides, how that Wake Forest maintains for us. And it shows you all of these schools are schools that you can borrow from as a member of the UNCG community. So let's say you are interested in going to Elon. Maybe you live near Elon. You can see on this page how long you're able to check out books, how many you can check out at a time. You've got contact people over here on the side. You can find out, all sorts of information, what you need to have with you in order to check out books. So this is a great resource because some of these schools are going to have slightly different requirements. Maybe so A&T, you can check out books for 21 days. At Elon, you can check out books for 30 days. So if you are interested in checking out books or going to browse at another institution in this agreement that we have, you can come here and learn exactly how to do that. All the ways that you are used to getting help from the library, either through the Ask Us chat or by visiting the reference desk or the checkout desk, we can help you figure out which libraries have the book that you're looking for. And we can also help you navigate to this page and learn exactly what it is you need to be able to actually check out materials from all of these schools. You can also borrow from any library in the UNC system. This page has less detail, but it shows you all the schools in the system, and then you can authenticate and learn from this NC State page. So that is also an option for you in order to be able to check out books. And yes, there is obviously overlap between this borrowing agreement and the UNC system one. But this one does give you the ability to borrow at the private schools around as well. And GTCC and Alamance of Forsyth Tech. Also, interlibrary loan, of course, will continue to be an option. We will continue borrowing from other libraries on your behalf, just as we always have. So that will continue to be something that is available to you throughout the renovation. And the best way for you to obtain books is going to depend on your needs, how soon you need it, if you have a car. So we are always willing to help you try to navigate that. So, you can use, again, the chat service or ask your librarian for help in figuring out, if you need a book today, it's probably going to be, your better option to go to another school around us to check it out. If you have a week, you can use interlibrary loan just as you always have. Oh, Carol, that's a really good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I know that you would, of course, be able to borrow on their behalf, because I would guess that they would not have the ability to borrow from other schools.
That's what I was asking about, because my husband is an alumni here, and I looked into getting him able to get books from the library, and I just wanted to see, how that would affect him in this transition period.
Yeah, I think we won't be able to do any guest borrowing like that until after the renovation. We've had, the community borrower program for some time now, and that will not be an option here while all of our books are off-site. But we will, I'm sure that we'll re-envision that program and have something post renovation.
Yeah, and I'd like to suggest maybe your public library would be an option when we're not. Public libraries have interlibrary loan also. So if there's something that's kind of academic related, you could inquire about getting it through them. And then also NC Live, you can get your NC Live access through a public library and have access to all the databases that's available through NC Live. And so that's what we've been pushing alumni to, actually, is to sign up for NC Live, to have access to those resources. That's usually one of the biggest things people ask for after they graduate.
Yeah, and he graduated a long time ago. He's now a retired professor from University of Maryland. So,
wow.
But he did his bachelor's and undergrad, master's here, and did his PhD at SUNY Albany. But that's, to keep us from having to buy books, because he's a voracious reader. This was a good option for us. So
Yes.
I'll take all of those into account.
Yeah. Are you in Greensboro?
Yeah.
Yeah. Check out the public library, and then tell them you specifically want NC Live access, so they can tell you how to get there.
Okay.
And then I'd be interested in knowing if it helps having that connection.
All right. Thanks.
Thank
you guys.
Yeah, and some institutions have like visiting scholar access, so that may be an option. I think that's typically private schools because they have a little bit more flexibility. So, that might be an option as well. So I know that some people who are retired faculty who are still actively, doing research and things like that might be, considered visiting scholars by some of the other institutions in the area. Also, and I'm not sure the makeup of this crowd. I don't know if we have any graduate students or undergrads who are here, but even if you don't live in Greensboro, if you attend college at UNCG, students are eligible for Greensboro Public Library cards, and actually also High Point Public Library cards. Those are two separate libraries. So even if you are, a grad student and you're just here temporarily while you're getting your degree, you are able to get library cards at either Greensboro Public or High Point Public Library. And we had an event earlier this fall where we had High Point Public to come and visit and sign students up for cards. And I'm hopeful that we can do that again in January. And like Leah said in the comments, we like to point students to Greensboro Public and High Point Public for their leisure reading collections. I am a huge fan of Libby, which is an ebook platform that public libraries have, and also Hoopla. They both Greensboro Public and High Point Public have really good collections of leisure reading. So those are excellent options as well. So since we've talked about all of these sort of interruptions or hiccups or whatever you want to call it during the renovation, I just wanted to share kind of what we're aiming for, because I do think it's important to remember that there's, I like to remind myself of this when I'm in all these meetings about the renovation and trying to figure out all these logistical things, that, there is a goal in mind. We are going to double our patron space. We're going to nearly double our capacity for students for seating. We're going to have more teaching space. We're going to have more reservable student study space, and we're actually going to have student focused wellness space. So I like to remember that, when we go through all of this, on the other side, we're going to have all these, we're going to be a much better space for students and faculty and staff in the community to come and be and feel comfortable. So I just like to remember that. So these are some renderings, and I will say they're dreams, they're wishes. We don't know actually what it's going to end up looking like, but it's nice to see kind of the vision that the designers have for what the library can look like post renovation. This is not taken from exactly the same vantage point, but this is in the libraries, or looking, this wall is what used to be on the other side of it, used to be the super lab. And you can see from inside here that what used to be the super lab will be this new entrance that will come off of the Walker, like the traffic circle side, with these big glass windows and a new staircase. So this is kind of what they're envisioning for the new main entrance to the library. This section here is a big open space where students can gather and convene. So, this is, again, just much more wide open than our library is currently. Kind of the same, this is kind of looking the other way. So this is kind of standing at the back of the super lab with your back to the traffic circle, looking toward College Avenue. And so now this would be, the new entrance would be behind you. And so you have this kind of open area for gathering and also for studying, a nice new staircase. I like the wood accents. Hopefully those will end up in the final design. So again, just like a much more wide open space than what we have now. And then this is kind of my favorite. So those of you who have ever had a conversation with me about the library know my feelings about brutalist architecture. I, for one, am extremely excited about the idea of driving down Walker Avenue, like cresting that hill, and not just seeing a giant white slab in front of me. I'm really excited about this glassed-in area. The designers call it the perch. That will be a place for students to come and hang out. And it's going to look really cool at night when it's all lit up, when you're driving up Walker Avenue. So again, these are some renderings of what we hope the project will look like when it is finished. Carol, that's a really good question. Mike, do you know if the Calder mobile will still be in the library after the renovation?
Yeah, we're going to be having someone take it down, clean it, store it, and it's intended to go back up in the same spot. And I believe there's one just like it over at the the downtown library in Greensboro.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Oh, yeah. I'm glad you said clean it because I can't imagine how dusty that thing is. So we are almost out of time. I honestly had no idea how long this was going to take. So we do have a website. There's a link here. But if you just go to the library.uncg.edu, renovation updates is right there front and center. I would like to invite you all to come to our event December 6th. It's kind of a saying goodbye to the tower. Kind of thinking about the past, present, and future of the library tower. It's going to be a really nice event. We'll have snacks, so please come and hang out with us. We also have a newsletter called Library Columns, and if you email Rachel, I should have probably have warned Rachel that her email address is going to be on here. Sorry, Rachel, but you can subscribe to Library Columns by emailing Rachel. And if you'd like to read a little bit more about the history and the vision for the renovation, I have linked the UNCG magazine article on this slide. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, and I am going to grab the link to the slides so that in case you didn't write it down, which would be fine. Thing to grab. There we go. So let's see. Okay, so there is the link to the slides. Does anybody have any other questions?
I haven't seen
So,
any come up
Amy,
that you missed. Oh, go ahead, Carol.
I'm sorry. I did have one. I was a little bit late coming in, so I wasn't sure if this had any effect on periodicals or if those are all online now.
So they all pretty much, I mean, yes, everything we have, I would say, is just about, with very few exceptions, is online now. So yeah,
Okay.
they're going to continue to be available through the website. Any sort of remaining print-only periodicals that we have are going to be stored for 18 months, but I'm extremely hopeful that whatever you need will be available electronically. You can always reach out to us and we can help you figure out how best to access whatever it is that you need. Because interlibrary loan will also continue to be an option. So if it's something super old that's only available in print and ours is off being stored, we'll help you figure out how to interlibrary loan it from somewhere else. And I think somebody else had a question. No, you're welcome.
No, it's probably just me talking. I was just saying I didn't see any questions beyond the ones you had already responded to.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Anything else? Well, thank you all for being here. I will put my email in the chat. If any questions come up later, please feel free to reach out. I'm here to answer questions, and if there are questions I can't answer, I'm happy to point you to Mike. By the way, Mike is our dean, in case you haven't met him yet. He's been in here answering questions, which I really appreciate. So please reach out any questions as things progress, and we will continue to be here to support you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, and I hope to see y'all on the 6th. Please come 1 to 3. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.